all, and welcome into this bonus highlight reel celebrating 1 year of episodes of the worst interview show. We used to be called Wildcard Wednesday, but either way, we have had 52 wonderful guests across an entire year now that the show has been running. So I wanted to make this this half-hour highlight reel, just highlighting some of the earlier show moments, how we've progressed along the way, and hopefully, highlighting a year to come in the fantasy football space, continuing to get to interview all of the wonderful people in this community. So once again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's ever been on the show, everyone who will appear on the show in the future, and of course, most importantly of all, to the viewers out there. If you guys are out watching, please send in questions to the show if you want to keep supporting the show. You can obviously like and subscribe, but more importantly, send some questions, some would you rather, some ideas of drafts that you want to see. You can send them all to @JackLucenay or worstsportschannel@gmail.com. But please enjoy this highlight reel, and again, thank you guys for watching, and thank you to everyone who has ever appeared on the Worst Interview Show. You display a meticulous patience with the way that you run your fantasy, and I think when you play those stealth shooter games, that's exactly what you need for those games.
Yeah, there's no running gun.
Dumbass like me who's like, fuck being stealthy. I'm just pop, 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 running through the fucking room. Like, I don't give a shit.
You sound like my kid. My kid always makes fun. I showed him a meme one time, and he thought it was hilarious, and it said, you at the beginning of a stealth level, and it's Johnny Depp in Pirates sneaking around. And then it says, you 5 minutes later, and it's Johnny Depp where he's running down the beach being chased by 500 pirates. And my kid goes, Dad, you're the one at the beginning. I'm the one at the end. And I'm like, yeah, that's true.
So keep trade cut. Pour the milk first, sock shoe, table over booth.
I'm going to cut the milk for sure. Can't do that.
That one's psychotic.
I'm gonna trade the sock thing, and I'll keep the table. Booth would have been more comfortable, but at least I can stretch my legs out underneath the table. So I'll take the table.
Possible way. You find them physically attractive, intellectually stimulating, consistently funny, and deeply compassionate. However, they have that one quirk where they are a diehard Steelers fan. Like, I'm talking, they are obsessed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beyond watching it on TV, like every possible chance that they get, they pepper it into casual conversations, use it as like common references, analogies to explain everyday events, occasionally like even talking intensely about the deeper philosophies of the team, and really like just nonstop. So would this be enough to stop you from marrying this otherwise perfect person?
Oh my God, the first thing that you described would have been enough. Just you could have stopped at Pittsburgh Steelers fan and just had to stop there. Actually, I almost threw up listening to through that whole entire part, but absolutely, I could never. No.
Do you find any similarities in the changes to barriers, just both in fantasy football, in terms of people becoming analysts, experts? Feels like, the market was already saturated to a degree, and now you could argue it's even more saturated than ever. And you could see the same similarities happening with journalism, because this idea that like everyone, in a sense, almost is like a journalist because everyone is on their phones constantly.
Sure.
Taking videos, sharing information, and the level to which someone can just go start a blog and be a journalist, quote unquote, is almost the kind of same thing of like, and I did it, like, obviously I just started a YouTube channel. So it's, I guess, do you find that the barriers of entry have been even more removed since COVID? And do you find that the oversaturating is, in both aspects of driving content, like what would you say are the positive and negative effects?
Well, yeah, there's certainly no barrier to entry now. Back when I first started, it's like, people don't remember this, but like, remember the days there was no YouTube. Like, what were those days like? You know, like, yeah, I remember sending my first couple of resume reels like on like an actual DVD, and you had no idea whether or not you had no clue as to whether or not somebody actually watched it. You had no idea. At least with YouTube, you get view counts and stuff, and like you're like, oh, okay, someone watched it. All right, that's cool. But no, but yeah, so there's obviously no barrier to entry. I think there's only a barrier to relevancy now. That's really what it comes down to. It's like, how do you become relevant? How do you cut through the noise? Some people have really figured out, the algorithm and like taking advantage of that. I think right now, especially when you talk about oversaturation, to be honest with you, technically there's an oversaturation of fantasy football people, obviously, because there's so many people who do it. But honestly, I think a lot of it's just kind of the same. So there's like a lot of like analytics bros out there now that seem to have like taken a strong foothold in fantasy football. And this is just, again, this is more anecdotal. It's not analytical at all. This is just me looking at the landscape. But I actually don't think there's a lot of people doing entertaining stuff with fantasy football, which is why I think a lot of my stuff has done pretty well, you know? So yeah, it's interesting. I don't think there's an oversaturation, for example, of like people who do entertaining fantasy football content.
You meet your soulmate. However, there is a catch. Every 3 years, someone will break both of your soulmate's collarbones with a crescent wrench. And there is only one way you can stop this from happening. You must swallow a pill that will make every song you hear for the rest of your life sound as if it's being performed by Creed.
Oh, God.
And people always shit on Nickelback like Nickelback's the worst band of all time. No. Creed is Nickelback, like, turned up to the max core 11 worse.
Can I tell you, but before you get into the rest of that, the first two concerts that I saw, actually I should say 2 of the first 3 concerts that I saw as a youth, I was like 13 and my older brothers took me to concerts, was Nickelback and Creed. Man. Those were 2 of the first 3.
Man. So Nickelback, I mean, those are Canadian icons. So like,
sure.
I love them. I don't follow the hate for them, but Creed, I can understand where that comes from. But I'm also a huge Creed fan because, ironically enough, they did like a WWF video back in the day where it was like, I don't know if you remember that one. It was like My Sacrifice, dude. That was
absolutely.
Jeff
Hardy swantoning off of a ladder to Creed in the background. That was cool, man.
They're breaking their bodies for us. It was like, dude, that video slapped so hard, and it was supposed to be like, don't wrestle at home, and literally like all it made me want to do was like dive off my sofa onto the floor.
Sure.
So when you're just like out now and you hear Arctic Monkeys on the radio, it's gonna sound to your ears like Creed. You know, it'll if you see Radiohead live, every one of their songs is gonna sound like it's being covered by Creed. When you hear a commercial jingle on TV, Creed. If you sing to yourself in the shower, your voice will sound like lead singer Scott Stapp of Creed, but it'll only sound this way to you. So do you still swallow the pill? So getting back to the quick recap, you meet a soulmate. It's someone will break their collarbones with a crescent wrench every 3 years. So it's not so bad. I feel like 3 years is not that bad. It's a gap. And if you take the pill to stop that person, every song, all music, forevermore is Creed.
Wow, that's brutal. I'm trying to think about this realistically. So I'm married. So my wife, let's say so it's every 3 years.
Yeah.
So let's say we both live good lives. Yeah, it's another, 45 years. That's what, 15 collarbone breaks? That's a lot of collarbone breaks. That's also a lot of Creed, admittedly. I'll take the hit. I'll take the Creed hit. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be enjoyable for most of the time, but it'll probably give me a kick. Like I'll get giggles out of it for at least a couple years.
Yeah.
Before it gets completely horrible.
Inside of I have no drip. I'm not even really sure what drip is.
We'll teach you. We'll teach you a little something. A little something.
So, you only have one name, like Prince. How long before you transition to the symbol formerly known as Hoove? And what do you think that symbol might look like?
I don't even know what the symbol would look like. That's fucking hilarious, dude. I feel like Hoove, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to do something wrong and then I'm going to get flagged and canceled for it or get the shit kicked out of me if I do like a hand sign for it. But I feel like VH2Os would be kind of easy to do with your hands. So you can do like a symbol that way. But don't try it. Don't try it, kids. Okay. I don't know. I had to play around, like I worked at Nike for 2.5 years. So like seeing like how Kyrie Irving like comes up with his logo and like how Kobe came up with his logo and like how athletes do that shit, it just boggles me. It's like there's sometimes that it's so unique and then it's sometimes just like it would just be like H with the OVO sign. I don't know, So it could be something like that. I don't know, but symbol that could be on the horizon.
I'd rather have a flute for a nose or an accordion or accordions for legs.
Huh. I guess I'd rather have a flute for a nose. Right? Accordions for legs. I mean, everybody's going to hear you coming. I mean, you might as well just wear bells on your shoes too, right? Like accordion legs. It's just constantly, it's like the up and the down. The flute for the nose, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. Maybe kind of plug it up. Maybe you play a little tune there. I'm okay with that. Accordions kind of that turns a lot of people off too. A lot of people don't like the accordion. I'm not really sure why, but a lot of people don't.
No, I think you're right about this. I think as podcasters or content creators that generally you're like, well, I don't want a flute on my nose because that could affect, my podcast. Me, I'm like, okay, now I'm doing my own intro and outro here. What are we talking about?
Howard, what do you think about this? I think it's
now that you died because you were trying to put the paperclip in the electrical socket, you get one place to choose to haunt for the rest of your life. Where are you gonna haunt? It can be anywhere in the world. You get to haunt this place.
Ooh. My first thought is like a public bathroom because like as a ghost, I feel like I'd want to shame people. The most shameful place is obviously the bathroom. Like, you come out of there and you just kind of stand by the door as people walk out. Like, I know what you did in there. I saw you. I saw what you did. But at the same time, it's gonna smell. Can you smell as a ghost? I guess I need details.
I don't think you can smell as a ghost, but like I wouldn't want. It's like that chick from fucking Harry Potter. Like you just like gotta be like coming out with hair up people's cheeks all the time, and just like she's generally annoying. Fucking
pervy Penelope.
Was there a fucking name Moaning Myrtle or some shit?
Yeah, Myrtle. There you go. Like and popping up out of the bubbles, looking down on that kid. I'm like, come on, girl, you're like 300 years old, and that is a 12-year-old boy. We got some Nickelodeon on behind the scenes
you want to do that.
Yeah, see, that's why I was like, well, the bathroom, maybe that's not where they go because people take that the wrong way. I don't know.
I feel like I want to haunt like a sports arena, but it's like you got to pick one that is going to last. So like Lambeau definitely would be top of my list.
Actually, if I could get the franchise to go under, that would be the key. So fuck Foxborough. I'm going there. I'm haunting Foxborough. Screw the Patriots, damn it.
There you go. We're haunting the Patriots right out of this league.
Oh, God, I wish. I freaking wish. It's been, 4 years since Brady left, and they've been losing and they've been sucking, and it's been great as a Colts fan to watch that. But it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Brady ruined so many years of my childhood as a Colts fan. Oh, man. Get me hot.
Shout out to @FFChrisB on Twitter. Would you rather have a mariachi band or a bagpipe trio follow you around for the rest of your life?
Bagpipes, 100%.
Really?
Yeah. So, funny story. My wife and I went to like a Plaza Azteca, essentially restaurant near us, and there was a mariachi troupe going table to table, and they came up to us and they were like, "Would you like us to play for you?" And we both just in unison said, "Please no." we did not want it. And so if I had to make a choice, I had to go. I would prefer the bagpipes, just for the fact that like I'm a little more partial to like the Irish jig music and what the bagpipes, they can be a little bit softer. 3 guitars in my following me around. I don't know if I would necessarily enjoy that.
See, I know that I would because I'm a huge fan of the Antonio Banderas movies, where he plays El Mariachi. So there's like El Mariachi, self-titled. That's like the lesser known of all of them, and then there's more famously Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and he basically plays the same character in all 3. And I would basically just be pretending that I'm Antonio Banderas with my mariachi band following behind me.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Or you could be William Wallace from Braveheart, and have the bagpipes following you, and you're just like, freedom.
Holy shit! Okay, by the time this comes out, it's gonna be a couple weeks after the fact. But obviously, it's WrestleMania weekend coming up. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock, or Cody Rhodes versus The Rock is night 1. That's like the tag match. But Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the title, which I'm just gonna say, like I know the Rock and Roman are winning night 1 because it's definitely they're doing the Bloodline Rules thing night 2. But night 2, I'm pretty sure it's Cody. That's who I got. Is that who you got?
I feel like I think for the sake of wrestling, I think it needs to be Cody. I think it needs to be. Not to say I'm a Cody stan. I'm not a crazy Cody stan. But Roman Reigns has been doing this thing a little too long. If anything, I look like Roman Reigns. So I'm probably on board side with him. But like, I think just for the sake of wrestling, to keep things alive, to keep the fans coming back, because I used to be a hardcore fan. Like I actually, what I do on my spare time and when I'm bored is I put on a streak of random pay-per-view. So right now I'm up to Unforgivens. So I just stream all the Unforgivens all at once. So I did Backlashes. I did Royal Rumbles. So I just stream them all at once. I got to start doing Raws and everything too. But like, I go so hard to watch the Attitude Era, to watch the Ruthless Aggression Era, to watch the Classic Era, right? I'm not tied into the era now. And I not to say that the talent is not great, but just the way the presentation is, some of the camera angles, like it gives away too much. And also the way characters took their personality from the ring to outside, it lived forever. Like the Undertaker was the Undertaker. If you saw him outside, you would shit your pants, right? But if you see like Rhea and Dom, right? Rhea Ripley and Dom, right? Like they're together doing all this crazy stuff. But you look at her outside, she has her own life. You can see that on Instagram, stuff like that. So you get detached because you know it's not real. But when I was a kid, I thought that shit was real. Like I thought that every aspect of it was real, and I was believing in it and I was into it. Like when you lose that sizzle, you don't have the connection with it. So we need to have something like The Rock. I think bringing him back, I thought it was a little overload in the beginning, but then when it came to Final Boss, when it came to the things that he was doing, I was like, damn, this shit is good. Like I can't even say no. So that's what really pulled me back in as a true fan, and I'm hoping that we can revive that. Ultimately, honestly, I hope we can revive it back.
The Rock is reviving kayfabe, is what he's doing, because that's what you're talking about. Is when we all believed, like, oh yeah, Kane is Undertaker's brother. That's just a fact of life. Like, I'm not.
That was it. There was no questions asked. No questions asked. And we took his mask off. I was like, oh shit.
Let's just, anyways. But yeah, back then it was like that. It was, you were the character 24/7. You had to maintain kayfabe, and The Rock, and the way that Triple H is running the show now and doing it now is fucking incredible. And I love what they're doing, because they're basically doing the thing now where they're using the wrestling journalists and feeding them a bunch of bullshit to get people riled up online to create rumors and all this like back chatter, and that's the kayfabe now.
Yeah, it's not easy to predict anymore. You can't predict it now. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Everything was so predictable. You're looking at like Bleacher Report wrestling reports, and I'm like, they're right. They're literally right. Everything you say predicted was right. So like having that mystery again, it's just bringing the sizzle
creation back. For me at least has been even a further extension of that. Like I literally just said, like before, fucking Dan Hand. I've been watching that guy do podcasts for like 8 years. The fact that he tweeted me is fucking insane. Like it's literally blowing my mind. And I've had interactions like that already with James Cohen, Adam Rankin, like a litany of dudes that I have followed again for damn near a fucking decade of this like weird hobby. And it's amazing that content creation and fantasy football is like this niche that brings us all together. So expand on that as far as like your experience dipping into the content side as well as the fantasy side.
I was on the NFL draft day. My Uncle Denny asked me, he goes, he runs an elevator inspection company. And he's like, hey, I know it's day 2 of the NFL draft, but I know you're a football guy. Do you want to come out to, we went on Lake Michigan. We were out salmon snagging, fishing on a charter boat, like salmon, catching salmon. And I had texted out, I had tweeted out something about like, I'm going fishing on draft day, just like Joe Thomas. And Joe Thomas retweeted my tweet and said like, hey, let me know what you catch. So in the picture later. And I was like, as an offensive lineman, Joe Thomas is one of the best linemen I've seen in my entire life. And he's like an idol to me. And for him to like retweet the tweet, I just said, I didn't tag him. I just said, I'm fishing on draft day like Joe Thomas. And he retweeted that. And on top of it, he was interacting with me after I made that tweet about like him fishing. Because if you remember his draft day, he was the number 1 or number 2 pick, like one of the top 2, I forgot what it was, but him and his old man just took a boat out. We're fishing on draft day. Didn't give a shit about showing up in a suit. Look at me, I got drafted. He just wanted to spend the day with his dad, just fishing on a boat, having a great time. Even though he's the best left tackle in the history of professional sports or NFL, as far as I'm concerned, But he didn't care about all this stuff. Just spending time with his family was more important than showing up to the draft and rubbing elbows with these guys, shit like that. And that meant something to me so much. It put family more in perspective. Like, I don't want to be there and be in the lights. I want to just enjoy my family. But for him to interact with me, that was super awesome, man. As far as that goes.
Friday night basically kicks off with our Friday night party at Centennial Plaza, which is a great outdoor venue, literally just 2 to 3 blocks away from the DoubleTree, so you can walk there. And then we have there's like 100-foot TV screen with usually one of the exhibition games are on. Sometimes we use it to do things like show videos or do whatever. But basically it's just a food, drink. We're going to have a cigar bar this year that you can buy cigars and hang out on the street, smoke cigars. And it's just, that's kind of the kickoff fun, introduce everybody, kind of starts knowing people, somebody like you, it's new, you can walk up to those guys that, you talked about, Howard Bender, whoever, to say hi and introduce yourself and, then you'll know who they are and maybe you can get Howard to be on your show at some point. So,
he's already been on the show.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, you've already been on it. Never mind.
So that's just to cut in real fast. I'm going to have like a really weird experience when I go because like I mentioned, I wanted to go last year. And if I had gone last year, I would have had a very typical experience of, I don't know a lot of the people there. And I'm meeting people. So because of that, though, now I'm a year deep. I've done like 40 something of these shows. I've actually had Howard, Greg, John McGlynn, like they've all been on the show. So this is for me almost as much a reunion as it is like I'm also meeting a lot of these people for the first time.
Love it.
But so it's going to be a really weird experience of like I am going to absolutely know probably like 50 people by the time, just because there's still more shows to record. By the time the expo actually happens, there's going to be a set of 50 people that have already been on the show that I'm going to get to like meet in person. But then the added bonus of, there's going to be other analysts of like, I'm not sure all who's coming, but I'm just, again, like not that he's coming. This is not to say official, but like the Matt Harmons of the world and the
Matt
Marcus
Harmon will be
Grahams
there.
of the world, and those
Matt
kind of
Harmon
guys.
will be there.
Okay, so yeah, it's just to say though, but like, yeah, that's the type of person I'd go up and be like, hey, huge fan of your work, love to meet you, kind of thing. So that's the one of the things I'm looking forward to. Also, what are some of the biggest generational differences you notice or observed in your, from your early days to what fantasy football is like now?
Oh, Bob Harris says it perfectly. Back then, we were searching for information. Now we're filtering information. There's too much information now, and you have to filter, what's credible, what's not credible. There are, to me, I retired in 2016 from the hobby, okay, because I was getting ready to retire from real life, and we were going to move overseas. We did. We moved to Thailand, spent 16 months in Thailand. Came back, missed the game, so I got back playing, and then JC and Iggy from the sports affiliation talked me into doing a podcast. I was done creating content in 2015. So you don't watch football for 5 years. I didn't watch a single game of NFL. I watched college football, but so I knew some of the kids. But the people who try to correlate what a kid does in college to what they do in the pros, I call it a fool's errand. Yeah, you got an idea, but you're guessing. You're really guessing. And all these player comparisons before a player's taken a single snap. I'll give you one right now. Blake Corum, Barry Sanders. Okay? I base that entirely on Blake Corum's 2022 season. You go in and look at his running style, and you look at Barry Sanders' highlights. But it's lazy to me, because you cannot expect. Blake's a different man than Barry. Barry was rarely used inside the three. He was pulled out by almost every coach he ever had at the pro level. Blake Corum is a monster inside the three because he's got lower body strength like you can't believe. But it's just right now the difference is simple. It's finding versus filtering, and you've got to. Bob used use the term coach speak a lot. Bob and I, he started before I did, but we met very early in the early 90s, and I was living in Atlanta working a 60-hour computer job, and my wife will attest to this. I would call Bob up and we would talk till 3 a.m, and then I'd get up at 6 to go to work the next day. But the old guys in this thing, the Scott Ingles, the Joe Bryants, the Bob Harrises, get to know them. The young guys like you, Jack, you give this the passion. That's what brought me back was, JC, Iggy, Wendy, and Carla. People like that, Hutchison Brown. See a 17-year-old kid doing this, making content. It reignited a passion that I thought was gone. So, get to know the young guys because they got some great ideas, but get to know the old guys because they'll help you with insight that you can't believe and thought of in this hobby. It's been thought of 20 years ago.